This is May 7, 2018. I've got another lesson in the New Testament is Fake series. This is titled, Sacrifice is Not the Way. I'll read here from Genesis chapter 2 and verse 7. It says, And the Lord God formed man of the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life. And man became a living soul. And in Genesis chapter 1 verse 27, so God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him, male and female created he them. As I read the scriptures more, I get to understand that the God of Israel could not have told people to offer sacrifices to him, to bring sacrifices. Or then who would have told the other nations around Israel and that existed before there was a nation of Israel to bring sacrifices unto God? Picture this. There are so many different nations that existed before Israel became a nation, and their gods are somehow telling them to bring sacrifices, or their kings and so on, and their priests. And it just so happens that when the God of Israel starts up a nation called Israel, he tells his people to bring sacrifices to him as well. Where is the uniqueness there in this God of Israel? When the scripture tells us in Deuteronomy 14 verse 2 that we're supposed to be a peculiar people. So where's the peculiarity of the God of Israel that would then give life to the peculiarity of the nation of Israel? So that as the God of Israel is not like the other gods of the earth for the other nations, so it is that his people, the nation of Israel, are not like the other people as well in their religious practices. Let me try to find that and read that for you in Deuteronomy chapter 14 and verse 2. I shall read verse 1 and 2. Ye are the children of the Lord your God. Ye shall not cut yourselves, nor make any baldness between your eyes for the dead. So again, peculiar. He's trying to show them that they should be different. So you get my point? Now look at verse 2. For thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God, and the Lord hath chosen thee to be a peculiar people unto himself above all the nations that are upon the earth. A peculiar unto himself above all the nations that are upon the earth. And you get a very significant and widespread practice to bring people into union with their God or with the Creator or whoever they're doing it to. A very, very widespread and very strong ritual and spiritual practice of sacrificing animals for purifying the soul and for righteousness. And the children of Israel begin to do it also when they become the nation of Israel, these same animal sacrifices. How does that let them be peculiar and be above all the nations of the earth, when all the nations of the earth are on that same level of doing animal sacrifices, and we're doing it before Israel? Israel then would not be peculiar. They have just risen now because they were not a nation before, so they are rising to the level of other nations that they say are heathen. Sacrificing is not the way. There is no peculiarity in the nation of Israel when their Torah tells them to get up to speed and get up to the level of the other nations and do one of the strongest spiritual rituals on earth that make one seem holy. Sacrifice, people, is not the way. And so if your Torah is telling you that the God of Israel wants this, then the Torah that you have is deceiving you. See, there are lots of people out there who go through all kinds of avenues in studying and archaeology and so on to try to show you how the Torah is not of God, or it's not real, or something like that, or it's tricked and so on. I never tried any of that. I'm not trying that right now. I'm simply teaching what I see to be the truth in exposing the deception of the New Testament. And while doing that, I'm noting that there is some deception in the Torah. So should I keep my mouth shut? The law says if something's happening to you, like a woman's getting raped or so, and you don't cry out, then what are you going to do? Like, the law is basically telling you that you should cry out to show anyone who might hear, or to show the Creator that you are resisting this, you don't agree with this, and that something unjust is happening to you. You must cry, you must make it known. And a lot of laws are set up about how to judge people in the Torah, and it even tells you do not bear false witness and so on. So you must speak out about the truth and speak it as honestly as you can. Speak your views as honestly as you can to be in line with the Torah. So it's trying to tell you that deception should not live in your heart. And if it's not living in your heart, then you will not express it, because you are a right Torah abiding person. So if I see that there's a problem with the Torah, that it is telling you that the God of Israel wants you to worship him by offering animal sacrifices, and I see that that is deception in the Torah, should I not speak about it? Of course. I'm not reading books about ancient Israel and what life was like in those times back then to show that there's something wrong with the Torah, and to say, oh, they didn't find this here, or this town here, or this city here, and so on, like they should have found, since the Torah says it was here or there. I'm not saying, those things are absent, so the Torah is not real. No. I am inside the world of the Torah and teaching from the Torah, and while looking around in the world of the Torah, I'm seeing that the Torah has some internal problems. Don't blame me for that. I didn't write the book. I thought just a little before I started the lesson here that people want to, and I've done it too myself for years, and I did that with the New Testament and Jesus in the Christian religion. But I did the same too with the Torah, where if anybody would say anything to me when I first started studying the Torah after leaving the Christian church, I'd be like, no. And I would tell them all the reasons why they're wrong, and I would quote all the Torah verses and tell a few things that I knew from studying history and so on as to why the Torah is correct and how wrong they are, and prove to them that they don't understand the Torah. But as I began to study about the deception in the New Testament, I realized that, like so many people, I was trying to vouch 100% for a book, the Torah, that I didn't write myself. So while I can find a lot of truthful things in it, I really didn't write the book, and I did not see the people who wrote it, and I'm still wondering about those Torah source editors. And as much as I've studied some more, not one person on earth has ever proved to the public anything good enough about these Torah source editors, JEDP, that put them in any good light, so that they are really trustworthy, so that they can own up to the Torah and we can get some proper answers from them. If you are writing the Torah or editing the Torah as a Torah source editor, you should have many more volumes of writing and explanation that help to explain why you wrote the Torah the way you did, so that the rest of us can understand it some more. And you should be able to give a whole lot more information about the times when God spoke on Sinai or wherever else he did. Because to just simply tell us that he spoke and then the stuff doesn't add up is not good enough, people. Sacrifice is not the way. Because they put all this information in the Torah about doing the sacrifices, and it's just not right. Like, as far as I can tell, Mars does not exist as a planet like the way they tell us, and the rover and whatever else they sent there running around there until the battery died or whatever. That stuff isn't real. But let's just imagine for a moment that Mars was real, and somehow you were able to get there, and you found a holy book, and you found other little remnants and artifacts and so on that showed that people were living there, like let's say a long time ago, 20 million years ago, and you found this holy book there that, from what you can gather from the writings in the book, showed that this holy book, let's call it the Mars book, was written about 20 million years ago when the planet was up and running, people were living there and so on, before they died off. And it tells all the procedures and rituals and ceremonies and so on that you got to go through to be a part of this religion, and you wake it up again. And then some other people come from Earth later on, many years later, and try to join into it, and they're telling you, this don't make sense, this don't make sense. Yeah, that okay, we can do this and that, but the rest of it right here, this don't make sense. And because you love it so much, and it just seemed to give you a quick way to delve into the life of Mars, because by studying the Mars Holy Book, you were able to get a better sense for what life was like on Mars 20 million years ago when the book was written and when the people were living on Mars. And it helped you to launch out and branch out some more with your exploration of Mars, and to learn more about what life would have really been like, and how to plant stuff on Mars, how to let it grow with the different climate that's there and so on. And you know, you could start off life there again, and you're living there and other people from Earth come and join you. Because it helped you out so well to launch out with new life on Mars, or revived life on Mars. And when you got sick from whatever Martian elements are there and whatever is in the earth and the atmosphere and so on, that let you get sick once in a while. It doesn't really kill you, but it knocks up your body a little too much sometimes. There are no hospitals there from Earth and so on, so, and no pharmacists, so you're just stuck right there. But you realize in the book that it talks about the different plants that you could grow and so on, and the different fruits that are there and so on that you can grow, and this and that fruit will help you to be well and to take care of this or that sickness. So you do all that stuff and you get the fruits from the trees that the Mars Holy Book told you to grow, and so you eat these fruit and you get these medicines from the fruit, and you get well every time you get sick. Now the people who are just freshly come from Earth are going to tell you the problems with the Mars book, and because it has done so much for you and helped you get well and helped your children not to die and so on Mars, you vouch for the book like crazy. No, nothing can be wrong with it because it helped me so much. You will almost swear on your life that nothing is wrong with this book. It is 100% the truth. of the early Martian civilization and how life should be. And because it makes you, well, it is a book of life. It tells you the best spot, the best, like the fertile places on Mars where you can grow the fruit trees and so on, to let the trees grow quicker. Since you're stuck there now, you need food quicker to survive. So you can plant here and there, but over this particular fertile spot, the plants, the fruit trees will grow faster. You'll be eating in no time before your food supply run out that you came to Mars with. So everything looks nice. The book helped you out very well. No one who just came from Earth to start living there can pull you away from that holy book. You swear in your life that all of it is correct, even though you never saw the person who 20 million years ago in that Martian world, you never saw the people who wrote it, you never got to talk to them, you never asked them a question. And the book itself is telling you that they were fighting with each other, and some groups were fighting here and there, and some was calling out the others and so on, and telling them that they're corrupting this and that, and they're poisoning the water with their bad practices, and they're doing this and that to the trees, merging trees together and doing whatever, all kinds of stuff, and blah blah blah, and tell them that whatever, you know, you never saw all those things happen, but the book tells you that. But because the book tells you how to restore life on Mars, you just feel, oh, it's just right. Obviously, if the book is telling you that the people had wars and were fighting with each other and so on, even the people who were managing the book 20 million years ago were fighting among themselves. They couldn't agree on what should be written and which language it should be written in, and one is saying shibboleth and the other shibboleth and so on, like the Torah says. You know, they had those little things, right? Obviously, the presence of the Mars holy book, but the absence of the Mars people, are telling you that the book was not enough to guarantee them life, or they would still be there with their book. And you would not have found the book, you would have asked them for permission to read their book and to be taught. The only reason you're finding it and not being taught by them is because with their book they died. And so you become a crusader for Martian truth, even though you never saw them write the book. You don't know where they got their inspiration from. You never saw their God or whoever gave them that inspiration. You do not know just how they even wrote the book. That means that you can tell some things, or maybe many things, about the book and about the lifestyle of the people, but you cannot prove all things. Yet you will almost go to the grave when dealing with the new people from Earth that just came to Mars to be with you. You will almost go to the grave for a book that you don't know how it truly originated. You cannot tell if, since the book was written at the first by the Martian people, if somehow later down the road the book got tampered with or corrupted in some way, and it had to be hidden away from the other people who were trying to do something to the book. But eventually those people were taken down, and the newer people who didn't like them did something to the book and then flooded the whole Martian civilization that was left with the newer edited copy of the book, and told everybody else that this is the original copy. You just don't have all that information, but you are willing to go to the grave, to the new people who just joined you from Earth, that this is it and it's 100% accurate and original from the start. Sacrifices in the Torah are not the way. You never saw who wrote this book? And can you imagine the Creator making animals before there was a Garden of Eden, or before there was an Adam and Eve and so on, and deciding that one day he's going to string up this lamb, like a first lamb of Calvary that was slain before the foundation of the earth, string him up, hold him like a goat or sheep by one leg upside down, and chop him up with a cutlass, and say, this is the example of how you should offer sacrifices to me. And he's just making animals and flooding the earth with animals in the creation. And he already has it in his mind that they should be slaughtered and killed mercilessly. Even though when you try to get them, they run from you. And you're telling me these are the words of the Creator, that you should slaughter these animals? Flesh sacrifices of humans or animals destroy your spirituality. These flesh sacrifices destroy your connection to your Creator. The Creator knows you are off the track. These flesh sacrifices that destroy your spirituality puts you in a place where you can no longer understand the proper connection between yourself and your Creator. Because your spirituality or your spiritual connection with the Creator is damaged when you are damaging His other creatures and the rest of the creation for reasons that are not even good. It's not like there's a good reason for this. There's just a religious reason for it. And whoever heard of the Creator starting any religion? Religion is something that man came up with. And as far as I can tell, in all my readings, religion does not stack up well with human existence. It is a source of contention and destruction and the taking of lives of millions and millions or billions of people on the earth. It is the cause for a lot of war and domination and evil. Like, people will even get sick because of religion, while some people who are being religious with their ideas decide that it is a good idea to poison some people for some kind of reason, to destroy some people for some kind of reason, and so on. That's religion. That's where your sacrifices of animals came from. Came from out of religious thought. So your spirituality is destroyed with these animal sacrifices and flesh sacrifices, as we read of in the New Testament from the animal human, the Lamb of Calvary. Now, your real spirituality happens in your heart. Your real connection between you and your Creator happens in your heart. It does not happen in the flesh of animals. It is not contained in the meat of animals that you sacrifice and eat before the Lord your God. Your spirituality or your spiritual connection between you and the Most High happens inside your heart. Sacrifices were not commanded by the Creator. So if your relationship happens inside your heart, then I can understand the verse I read at the start in Genesis 2:7, that He made man and He blew into man the breath of life, and man became a living soul. So He is giving life to the man, or He is giving or imparting spirituality to the man who was not alive, because man became a living soul. So man began to have a heart, not the physical heart, but man began to have a heart, that spiritual part of him that was blown or put into him, that connected him to the Creator, so that it says, in the image of God. When that image or that spiritual part of the Creator was blown in or into or entered into the man, then the man became living, or it says a living soul. So the man was formed of the dust of the ground, but was not yet a living soul. He was just formed. So the man, having been formed of dust, was not animated and was not usable and was not living until essence or life was put into the man by the image of the Creator, going inside the formed but void of life flesh of the man, or dust of the man. Once the image or the source of life or the Creator life entered into the man, then the man began to have movement. So it said he breathed into him the breath, and we know breath normally deals with life and movement. So now the man begins to animate or have life. He now becomes a living soul with a living heart that gives him a living conscience and a living connection to the Creator. So he is said to be in the image of God, or he has the life of God, or he has the likeness of God. It is through this likeness of God, meaning that he has life from the Creator, but in a way where his heart functions different from the other creatures, so that he can interact with the Creator, and in some cases on behalf of the Creator on the earth, in a way that other creatures don't quite do, like not on the same level. So he is said to be in the image of God. Once he has this image of God operating in him, or this life of God operating in him, or in his heart, you might call it, this place where the image just gives him vitality, this unseen place, this is where his spirituality happens inside of him. And we just say loosely, the heart of man. So then, in that way, we can understand when someone says God lives in your heart. It is in this place in the heart where, as we say, God lives, that your spirituality is experienced, and your connection between you and the Most High is experienced and is active. This part of you is destroyed when you do animal sacrifices like the other nations do, or flesh sacrifices, where there's children that you're offering as Israel, like the Torah says that they offer children, or it's another child of Judah, or so-called child of God offered on Calvary, or the animal being offered on altars. These kinds of flesh sacrifices cannot possibly take the place of anything that can happen inside the heart that made the man come alive with Creator life, or spiritual life, or spiritual essence, when the Creator blew into him the breath of life. As I said, that he blew into man the breath of life, meaning that the Creator now enters inside the man, and he now lives inside the man. So God made man and then entered inside the man. When God is living inside the man, when God is living inside the Israelites, when God is living inside a human, an animal being slain cannot restore the life of the Creator inside the man, or the spirituality of the Creator inside the man. It cannot be restored, that spiritual connection, by an animal that is slaughtered with blood everywhere, and you picking off or singeing off the hair of the flesh of the animal before you eat it before the Lord your God. None of that kind of behavior, that kind of ritual, can restore a spiritual connection that has been broken. The only restoration that can happen is going to be something that is done internally or in the heart. It cannot be done by something that happens outside of the heart, like by killing an animal with a knife that you use to chop up or slit the throat of an animal. That is all external stuff. It is on the level of the heathen. It is on the level of the Gentiles. It is on the level of people who do not have wisdom from the Creator, or who do not have the wisdom of the real Torah. If there is such a Torah, let it be seen. But as I've said before, the Torah that we have been given is the given Torah, which is the public Torah that the public has been given. It is not the Torah of the Creator. It is not the Torah of whatever or whoever should be the real God of Israel. Because his connection does not happen by something that happens externally outside of you, like by killing of an animal or of a god on Calvary, a demigod on Calvary. His connection is something that happens spiritually inside the heart. When that proper connection happens between you and the Most High, it is because of good practices that happen inside the heart, or good conditions, I should say, inside the heart, that make you want to do the other things that the Torah says, like live pure and clean and justly before the Creator and with man, with your fellow neighbor and so on. Keep justice in the land and so on, and be fair to each other. Let there be equity. Let there be equality. Let there be equality and fairness and justice and love and caring for each other and so on. And then you will not need all this external stuff. So the real condition of the heart, of a good heart that's living by a breath that is blown into man, is going to be something that goes on inside of your heart that lets you live well on the earth, so that the Creator is pleased for having made man, instead of saying, it repenteth me that I have made man on the earth. When you have that kind of condition in your heart, there is no need for a sacrifice. And then you understand that no sacrifice externally of animals or of a lamb on Calvary can ever possibly replace what can go on inside the heart. No animal sacrifices can restore a connection with the Most High. No animal sacrifices. The animal sacrifices in the Torah are all heathen. The Torah is busted, and Calvary is fake.